Hello, I'm your host, Debbie Salmon, and welcome to Behind the Scenes of the Producer Showcase. For those of you that have been with us for many, many showcases, you're in for a real treat, because in this program, we're going to give you the inside scoop on how we create all those wonderful programs. I have two very special guests who were both instrumental in getting the Producer Showcases going. With me, Del Mar TV Foundation past president Pete Glazer, and the originator of the Producer Showcase, Steve Rose. So thanks for being here, both of you.
My pleasure.
Now, Pete, I want to start with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how the Del Mar Television Foundation supports the Producer Showcase?
Well, Deb, when one of the main goals of the TV Foundation has always been to provide programming for Channel 66. And to that end, we established the Producers Group about 5 years ago. And they've been producing programs ever since. And about 3 years ago, Steve suggested that we have a Producer Showcase once a month. We thought it was a good idea and have been funding it ever since.
Okay, so where'd you get the idea for a Producer Showcase, Steve?
Well, I have to tell you a little bit about a group called Pace TV. This group has been around for 27 years, and they meet weekly at Time Warner to produce a show. They produce the show within the 3-hour period that they have studio time there, and generally the show is available at the end of that time for airing. So I thought that that would be a fun activity to try with the producers group here.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about who the producers are. Who is this group that makes up this group of people?
Well, the producers group is made up of people who have gotten certified at this station, and what they do is they take a class and then they take a test, and once you're certified, then you can come use the studio and work any of the equipment that we're going to see today. So okay. It's a lot of fun to go do this.
And the classes are a lot of fun. I mean, obviously I've been through them as being part of the producers group, but it's a great hands-on experience if you want to kind of get your feet wet in television, and there's a lot of good resources just in the people and the equipment that's available. Mm-hmm. So what kinds of things have been on the showcases, Steve? What kind of topics have we covered?
Well, we've done a wide variety. We've had a show on composting and on ballroom dancing.
Thanks for the plug.
That was Debbie's show. We've had Flying Samaritans who fly down to Mexico to provide medical services to rural areas in Mexico. We had Blind Surfers, which I think was one of your favorites.
How long have they been going, Pete? How long has the Producer Showcase been going?
They've been going about 3.5 years now.
Okay.
And I don't know, we've done about
27?
almost 30 shows.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Got a lot of them in the can.
And it's a pretty fun model in terms of people get together for the evening. We kind of throw in our technical knowledge, or just learning a bit of stuff, and what we come up with. What's the end result?
Well, we, in addition to having a chance to really hone our skills at all of the crew positions, we get a show that can be aired on Del Mar TV, and we also air it on Time Warner and Adelphia Carlsbad. Okay,
well, it's a good contribution to community television then.
Yeah, it's a good situation for everybody, and it's lots of fun. And if people want to come down here and get certified, I think they'll really enjoy themselves.
Okay, well, tell people how we can do that. I know we've got a website, www.delmartv.com. We've got a phone number that you can call, Pete. What's the phone number?
There's a phone number that you can call, 858-481-2882, and you can make arrangements to take a class here. The classes are 3.5 hours long, and there's three. It goes on for 3 times, and it's usually over a 2-week period, so it doesn't take up too much of your time. And during that time, you will get to play with every piece of equipment that you're going to see tonight.
Okay, good. Well, thanks for that tip. Now that we're actually going to go ahead and go behind the scenes now, because we want to get on with showing you how all this is really done. So thanks to both of you. Usually we do our best in television to hide all of the technical aspects of production and make it look seamless, and only show you what's in front of the camera, which for a show like Producer Showcase is usually the set with the host and the guests. But this program is an exception, because what we're going to do is turn the cameras around and show you what really goes on behind the scenes. And what we're going to do is start here in the studio, show you all the positions, and later I'm going to take you into the control room. But the person closest to me in the studio is the floor manager, so that's where I'd like to start. And the floor manager is in charge of all the communications between the control room, which you can't see right now, and the studio. And there's a director in the control room who's actually giving instructions to the floor manager through a headset communication system. And so the crew members wear these headsets so as not to disturb the discussion between the host and the guests. And so our floor manager today is Luana Carr. So Luana, I'd like you to tell all the folks a little bit about what's important about your position.
Thank you, Debbie. Well, it's important because we relay the timing to the host and the guest, and we do this mostly by hand signals. It a lot of time depends on the host, what they prefer. We do also have signs, so we can remind them to smile if they're having a bad day. And if they're talking a little slow, we can have them speed up. Or if we need them to stretch a little bit of time, maybe we need them to talk a little slower, so we tell them to stretch. And it just varies depending on the host and the floor manager, what type of signals, you know. And so if we really need them to quickly end their program or their speech, then we tell them, cut.
That's the one that strikes panic. When you get that, you're like, oh my gosh, I have to wrap up here. So, okay, so what are some of the signs for timing that you give in terms of?
At the beginning of the show, before we start, I'll get the information from the director, and we'll go to in 5, 4, 3,
Okay.
and then the host will take it. And then in between, when we go to perhaps a cut or a public service announcement, something of that nature, then I'll also give them a countdown and count them back in after the tape is rolled and we're back into the studio. So it's a lot of timing, a lot of cooperation between the host, the floor manager, and the director. So it's a lot of fun.
Okay, and the real value to the host is it takes that pressure of having to worry about the timing of the segments. So it's really a great job that you do for the people in front of the camera. So
Exactly.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No, you're going to take that. You're going to take that.
Oh, that's right. I've got to talk to Steve because another important aspect of the production in the studio is the lighting. And so you might have noticed that it changed when we actually went to talk to Luana. And we wouldn't be able to film in the dark, would we? So shedding some light on the subject is an obvious necessity. And the lighting is done prior to the show. In most cases, once the lighting is set and it's set properly, we don't need to change it during the show. So our crew member for lighting is our old friend Steve Rose. So Steve, can you tell us how you lit the set for the show this evening?
Good to see you again, Debbie.
Such a long time.
We used standard three-point lighting, which means that we use one light to illuminate one side of the host or the guest and another light to illuminate the other side. And then we use a backlight that gives depth and separates the person from the back of the set.
So how do you know which is my best side? No, I'm kidding. Kidding. So do you ever use colors? Or, I mean, all these lights that we have here are white.
Right. We didn't use colors today, but we have gels that can be put over the lights, and they allow us to have different colors cast onto the background.
Okay. And then when you're setting up the lighting in terms of before the show, what do you have to do to ready the set to make sure that the lighting is in the right place?
Well, we first set up the chairs where we want them. We can't move them after we've done that because once we get the lights set, they're set for those particular positions.
Okay. So you've got a little bit of the Wizard of Oz black curtain going on here. You got a magic box, a little panel of buttons here. So you want to do a little demo of maybe bringing up and down the lights or something?
Yeah, each of the lights is controlled from this room, and we can dim or change the intensity to a brighter intensity if we want for each one of these lights. So that gives us a lot of flexibility in setting up the lighting.
Okay. Very illuminating, Steve. Okay, well, what we show you on the screen is filmed by a camera, and we have multiple cameras in the studio. Some are remote cameras, and that means they're operated from the control room. Others are studio cameras, and they're operated by a camera person. So each camera person wears headsets, like you saw earlier with Luana, the floor manager, and that's so that they can hear instructions from the director and kind of get information about specific shots that they're asked to get. So here's cameraman Mike Mozakowski. So Mike,
Hi, Debbie.
tell us how you work the camera.
Well, we work the camera by pushing a lot of these buttons. We can zoom in. We can zoom out. We'll zoom in again. I don't know if they're catching this. Yeah, we're zooming in. We're zooming out. We can turn. Depending on how many people are in the shot, we can include them in the shot. Depending on what actually the director is calling for.
Okay.
What else?
What happens when maybe you're not lined up to get the right shot? Do you always stay in one place? Or?
No, we actually are asked to move to get a better shot, and that's called trucking. And we move the camera because it's on wheels. Great use of the wheel. We roll over here to a different angle, and then we can get the shot, hopefully, that the director was calling for.
Okay, so that's a little creative when you got a lot of wires and cables
Right.
running here everywhere as well.
That's where the challenge comes in, yes.
Okay. How about the program button? Don't you have something for program feedback?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And the object of this button, we're pressing it right now, and I don't know, what it does is it shows us what's actually on TV, and we can see in the little screen here above it, just to make sure that our shots with the other cameras are approximately the same, so they're not out of context.
Okay. Now, you have some varying shots, and we know we have terms like, what kind of shot is that?
Well, like this would be like a full body shot, I guess. Most of the shots we do are just head shots or, actually, I forget the name of the terms of the shots.
Medium close up,
Exactly.
or whatever. Okay.
Exactly.
And
Normally the director will tell us in more, zoom in or zoom out.
Okay, and had you handled a camera before you came and did the course
No,
certification?
no, not at all. And it's a great course. It teaches you everything you need to know.
Okay, including using the headphones to listen to the director.
Exactly.
Does it get going pretty good when you're sort of changing shots?
You should
all the
hear
time?
what they talk about in the control room, which you'll see later
No,
in the
we're
show.
not. Yeah, maybe later. We might let them do that. Okay. Well, why don't you move back here because I'm going to move on. These are actually the static, the cameras, like I said, in terms of the studio. But we also have some remote cameras. So there's an example of one of these up here on the wall. And if I can get somebody in the control room to actually move it around, you'll see that by magic, there's no wires. Hi, Mom. Okay, so somebody in the studio is actually controlling that. Okay, anyway, enough of remote cameras. We'll talk a little bit more about that operator when we go into the control room. Now, often a host has some very specific help with facing the camera and remembering their lines. If what I'm saying to you is displayed for me, all I have to do is read it. But I must be able to read it while I look at the camera, and that's pretty tricky. This is done by a magic device called a teleprompter. The text is reflected for me from an angled piece of glass that's in front of the camera I'm actually looking at now. And the camera films right through that piece of glass. Because of the laws of reflection, the text is only visible to me, and it isn't recorded by the camera. Now, the text is displayed on the teleprompter that comes from a computer, and the computer is operated by our teleprompter operator, Parker Schleiven. So, Parker, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you operate the teleprompter?
Well, you operate the teleprompter by loading a text file and then moving the text with my fingers at a variable speed that you can read.
So how do you know how to vary the speed?
Well, I just push up and down, and going as fast as you can, I have to go with your speed, and if I go too fast for you, then you won't be able to read.
And I have to talk like this really, really quickly?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And if you go too slow, then I have to follow the... Okay, right. So we got it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're talking to me, you're not moving the text, so how do I know what to say? I'm kidding. Okay, what happens if the host doesn't follow the text?
If the host doesn't follow the text, and it's my responsibility to find where the host is and help them out so they don't get confused on camera.
Okay. Well, if we could get a close-up, you'll actually see it looks like it says, show the text for the next segment announcing the break. So what we're going to do is take a short break right now, and when we come back, we're going to show you the control room. So stay with us for a little bit more of Behind the Scenes, a Producer Showcase. We'll be back in a few minutes. I'm your host, Debbie Salmon.
Plastic ones last longer.
Pork bellies close steady due to speculation that demand for bacon-related products.
Read me this one, Daddy.
Okay, honey. The less art kids get, the more it shows. Are yours getting enough? Art. Ask for more. AmericansForTheArts.org.
Well, we're back from the break, and I said it would be a few minutes, which for us it was, but for you it was only a few seconds. So we're back with Behind the Scenes of a Producer Showcase, and I'm your host, Debbie Salmon. And now we have entered the sacred control room where no camera is supposed to go. And this is the realm where the director is king. So you may have been wondering who has been speaking into the headsets of the floor manager and the camera people. And the director is in charge of giving the instructions to all the crew for the technical realization of the show. He decides on camera angles, which shots to use, timing, everything like that. And our director today is Philippe Lamoise. Philippe, how's it going?
Pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty challenging today because we have 7 different cameras, lots of crew members, and we have to shoot the real shots and also to have the production inside the production. So very challenging.
Well, it looks like you're doing a pretty good job. So now you're also the producer. So tell us what it means to be the producer.
Well, the director mostly decides of the shots, switching cameras around and everything during the technical production. The producers decide of the content of the show, how it's going to play around and things like that, yeah.
Okay.
And as long as the crew knows what they are doing, actually, it's easier. Some of the people would do their job automatically. You don't have to actually tell them what to do. They do it on cue, so then it becomes a really good production.
Pretty seasoned crew, this one?
Yes, very good so far.
Okay, but we also help the newcomers. That's a good thing. You don't have to know a lot to be in the producer showcase, do you?
No, that's fine. You get trained actually to play the different positions as well by people who have done it before. So it's very convivial and very friendly.
Okay, well, you better get back to work and do something here. So why don't you get the cameraman to do something for us here, change a shot or show off a little.
Actually, here we have the 2 of us. So the technical director, we are going to next actually already take the shot. Okay, now you see another angle of the control room from the other side.
Okay, great. Well, now the director must be able to give instructions to all of the crew. So he isn't able to actually push any buttons. He has other people doing that for him. And for the selection of the camera shots, basically what goes on air, the person pushing the buttons is the technical director. And our technical director is Bob Gainey. So Bob, why don't you tell me a little bit about this equipment that you're running here?
This is the switcher console, and most important thing is that you listen to the director behind me, so I take the shots that he wants. These buttons corresponds to the different cameras in the studio, and each camera has a different monitor. This being our preview monitor up here, there would be this one up here, this far one, and that is the you get your choice of shots, and when the director wants to take into the actual program, we hit the program button, and it comes over to this monitor up here. If we can we got a camera on this, Philippe, where we can show them this.
Ready, 6, take 6.
There we go. So once again, this is the preview monitor over here, and this is the program monitor here. And another thing the switcher console can do down here is it can produce some effects. For instance, if we want to do over here on the preview monitor, let me go back to, where was I on, 6? The preview monitor, we would hit the effects button, and it would go up here to the, and we would see the split screen up here. Are we getting a shot of that?
Yeah, it's on the top left, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to take it.
You have to make it live, yeah.
There it is. We get the split screen up there. If we can get a close-up on the program monitor, that's what you're seeing on the screen now. Yeah, this over here. So you can see there's lots you can do with the switching console.
Okay, well, and normally you take directions, like you said, from the director. So do you ever see a shot that you just kind of want to take and do it yourself?
Effect off.
Effects off. I only do what the director tells me to do.
Okay, and you know what? That was the most difficult thing that I've seen. To actually do this job, you're normally concentrating totally on listening to the director and switching shots. So well done having to talk to me at the same time.
Thank you very much.
Ready for
Get back to taking directions, I guess. Okay, well, there's another technical person around, and this is the technical supervisor, Robert Baumgart. So, Robert, why don't you tell us, you're really in charge of the operation of all this equipment, both here in the control room and out in the studio. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, I basically just kind of oversee, make sure all the equipment is up to specs, and just help out wherever needed, make sure that they have the cables they need, make sure that they're on time. Right now we're 19 minutes and 30 seconds into the show, so we're doing fine. Looks like everybody's, doing a good job and everything. So, I'm just here to make sure cameras don't quit, the audio stays going,
Okay.
Just make sure everything's...
Okay, good. Now you've got another, besides this sort of stuff that the director and the TD are working on, you've got a whole set of engineering monitors over here yourself. So what's happening there?
Yeah, this just allows me to monitor the different cameras while, we're doing the shoot. You can just go right up here to this router and just push different ones. I can go to camera 4. We can adjust the levels on camera 4, and I can just, go real dark or bright, depending on what needs to happen. I can check the tape, make sure we're actually, getting this to tape, so if people at home can see it. And then program here. Just lets me know exactly what Philippe is taking, and you know, I can just follow along as the show goes.
And you've done a lot more technical training than most of us in the Producer Showcase, so you really have that bit more technical experience.
Yeah, I mean, I took the class and everything as everyone else did, and then just there's different classes that you can take to, you know, further along and find out exactly all the technical things about behind everything, you know, how it works. If it breaks, what do you do? I mean, instead of, you know, just operating a camera, it's if the camera is not working or turning on, what do you do about it? So that's kind of the next step.
And we're really glad you're here in those situations. So thank you, Robert,
You're
very
welcome.
much. Okay. Well, so there's also one more person. You remember earlier I talked to you about remote cameras being out in the studio. And so we're going to let Larry slip in here. And he's actually Larry Jones, who's the man behind the remote cameras. And these are operated from the control room, as you see here. So Larry, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you operate the remote cameras?
We have two remote cameras here, camera 1, camera 3, that are, you saw them on the walls out in the studio. And we got two joysticks to pan and zoom the camera in the showroom. You can zoom out. And we can set up shots and move back to them very quickly. So it gives us a good total control and a good full coverage of the control of the studio.
Okay, so those are actually stored, those shots. You said you had one
That's
programmed in there when you like something.
That's right.
You just jump back to it. Okay. So are there prerequisites? You've got some joysticks there. Do you have to be a good computer gamer or something like that to do this job well?
Well, you have to be able to drive.
Okay, and you're like the TD. You take the same instructions that the technical director does from the director.
Pay a lot of attention to the director, and when we've got multiple cameras like this, we have more cameras than we have monitors. So you have to provide side information to the director so he knows what shots he's got.
Okay.
He's got to look at 7 different cameras in this shot today.
And you're providing a couple of them for him. Okay,
That's
well,
right.
thank you, Larry. Keep up the good work. All right, so now I'm going to move back to the back of the room now. You guys will have to stay with me. We've got a very important person down here, because if you've actually been able to hear me throughout this program, it's largely because, well, I have a microphone for a start, and also that sound is captured by the microphone and it's being recorded here in the control room. And our sound engineer who's taking care of that is Bill Hoffman. So while you're listening, Bill, I'm going to ask you to talk to me a little bit about what kind of different microphones we're using in here.
Audio, Debbie, is very important, as you know. And of course, I can take this slider and pull it down and cut you off, cut the whole show off, but we're not going to do that. But instead, we did hook up some microphones tonight. The audio engineer's job is to go ahead and set up the mics when they arrive. And then tonight we used a handheld mic, as you're using now. We used lavalier mics we used earlier in the show. And then, of course, the wireless mic that you're on right now, too. So we can make adjustments and bring audio up and down. As I'm doing right now, you can tell my voice is fading in and out. And the name of the game is to try to provide a program that the viewer is going to enjoy, and that means good audio and a great picture, a great host, a great crew. And without that train, the train isn't going to go anywhere, so this crew is putting it all together and keeping it together. We can bring a little music up if you wish.
Well, that's a nice touch.
There we
isn't
go.
it?
We slide a little music in here. You got that? And I'm the only one that can hear it, you see. This is the fun of this. So I'm living proof that audio engineers can be old as well as young. Now, we've had young people come through here and old people, too. And God bless this crew. You guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Debbie.
That looks like one complicated piece of equipment, I can tell you. So I'm glad you're in charge of it.
Thank you.
And we all know that sometimes you can have a good video program if you don't have good audio to go with it. The whole thing's out the window. So we're moving on to the next important position. Lori Marlett is here at our character generator station, and so what you see throughout the program, you would have noticed that we had some sort of some little text flashing up on the screen. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what you use the computer for?
Well, whenever you want text, whether it's the title of the show or, hey, my name.
Wait, that's supposed to be my name.
Oh, okay, well, we can do that too. It's just a matter of selecting, cutting it in, and then you can overlay it on the screen. So this allows you to bring up text, whether it's title, credits at the end, and making sure everybody's name's spelled properly. That's very important.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Lori. All right, now I won't say last but not least, but I certainly say there is one more person in this room that we need to speak of, and this is the editorial assistant, Stephanie Sullivan. And her eyes are glued to the program board right now because she's actually keeping track of the timing of the show and making sure that we don't go too fast or too slow through the script. So, Stephanie, how are we doing on time?
Actually, you're very timely. we've got about a minute to spare here.
Okay.
Actually, more than a minute to spare.
Really? Okay. Well, so what are some of the options when we get to this for expanding or shortening, for lengthening or shortening the program?
Well, actually, that's something that you can adjust when you're actually at the break of a show, because then you can recalculate your time and say, okay, we need to go faster or slower. But when it gets to this point, when you're almost to the end, you really have to keep an eye on it. So there's not a lot of adjustment. Most of the time, you guys are out in the other room there, so I'm going to be calling time out, saying you've got a minute, you've got 30 seconds. So right now, because we're doing this a little bit differently, it's different.
Okay, and that timing gets relayed to the floor manager through the headphones.
Yes.
And the headphones would let the host normally know kind of through all the hand signals that Luana gave us earlier. So right now I wouldn't be getting too much of this, but I would be getting a little bit of maybe this.
Exactly.
Okay, so, all right, well, and I'm
It's all
happy
about
to oblige.
communication.
Because we've actually come to the end of our show, and so that's about it for Behind the Scenes of a Producer Showcase. And what we're hoping is that you now have a better idea of what it takes to actually get our ideas into your living room and how much we enjoy doing it. Being a community producer is a lot of fun, and the group welcomes new members anytime. So if you're interested in joining, please come see us. You can come down to the studio at 240 10th Street in Del Mar. And if you're down at the markets, we're kind of right behind where the strawberries are. Call us on the telephone. The number is 858-481-2882. Or visit our website. I mentioned it earlier, which is www.delmartv.com. And we'd like to thank the Del Mar Television Foundation for making all of the producer showcases possible, and this one, of course, in particular. We look forward to seeing you at the next producer showcase, which will be on air, and we really hope to see you around the studio. And since I've got a few seconds left, I'm going to take this opportunity to remind people that, there was somebody who really didn't get interviewed on this program, and I think it's really one of the most important positions that shouldn't be overlooked, and that, of course, is the host. Now, the host is a very important job, and it's quite difficult because we really have to cover up for all the mistakes of all the other people. I'm just kidding. They're here to make us look good, but there are some challenges in terms of the host, in terms of really trying to make sure that what's happening here comes across to you folks at home and you're really enjoying it. And I think some credits are going to start rolling across my face in a few minutes, and they're really going to try to shove me into this really unimportant place because there's lots of names and music and stuff, but I'm still here and I'm still talking and I'm still being your host, and I'm going to be here until the beginning of the very next showcase, which I may or may not be on there, but anyway, we hope you're here, so please join us on the next producer showcase. I'm your host, Debbie Salmon, and we've had a blast bringing it to you. Thanks.